It's so good to see you, Dona.
You too, Jolyn.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Can continue introducing yourselves on chat. We're looking forward. And tell us also where you're from. Are you from South Africa, from Kenya, from Namibia, from wherever part of the world? And we really look forward to this session. And I think first off, Don, I don't know if this is an African thing. Like for us here in Kenya, we usually start off our sessions by doing a quick survey, through
Mhm.
Menti, and
Yeah.
we like doing, just getting to know what people are feeling like. Do they
Hmm.
know about the topic, how they're actually using AI and whatnot. So please, if you can have the link to Menti, please, you can. We want to know exactly how you use AI. Why are you curious about the topic? Are you curious that it's going to replace all our jobs? I know there's a lot of things that are happening around in the AI space, and there's no other person that's better than Donna to walk us through the AI shifts. And maybe I'm just curious, Donna, because I started off tech like maybe 10 years ago, and I know you've been in
Hmm.
Microsoft for more than 20 years.
Hmm.
So I know you've been there since the times of robotic process automation, and then we had bots as well, and then we now I know I'd like to know the history, and I know you're going to walk us through that as well. And um, but for now, you can scan. I think, Caroline, maybe you can just walk us through how to access Menti.
Yes, we have put the QR code on the screen. Please scan it. It will lead you straight to Mentimeter, where you can answer the survey questions.
Awesome. So while we are getting that, I know maybe you can see the results as well. Maybe you can share that screen for the Menti results.
Sure, shortly.
Awesome. So Donna, I don't know which part of the world are you in today? I one thing I
Today
know
I'm
about
in I'm
Donna.
in Seattle. Yeah.
Okay. One thing
Yeah,
I know
I'm
about Donna,
weirdly in
she's
Seattle.
always in a jet.
Hmm. Yeah. I like to go see people in person because I don't think you can sit in Seattle, Washington and figure out what people need from tech because that's not a very good representative place. So I like to get on planes and I like to come see you. So I've spent lots
Yes.
of time in Africa. I've spent lots of time in Lagos and Nairobi, in South Africa, in Johannesburg and Cape Town. So I love hearing from all of you on where you're at and what the tech scene looks like where you're at and what you're hoping to learn in the next year.
Awesome. Hopefully we'll impress you very soon. Hopefully we'll have you
Hmm.
here very soon so you
Hmm.
can see the kind of innovations that we have in this space as
Absolutely.
well. Perfect.
Hmm.
Okay. So okay. So I think in the interest of time, we can just jump right in because I would really want to see the screen. So just interact with us on Menti. Just take a few minutes, just 1 minute as well, just to go through the kind of questions that we have prepared for you. Okay. But in the meantime, I think I'll just introduce Donna, and then I know you have prepared a wonderful session for us. And one thing about Donna, actually, Donna is my former skip manager as of this week. And one thing that I really like about Dona is the kind of expertise that she has, especially in the AI field. I think I knew you before around accessibility, and you've done around like anything that you touch, you always mastering that craft. And this time around as well, like yes, as your title, you're the chief troublemaker of the Copilot and AI Extensibility program at Microsoft. So I know that you lead the Power Platform team and also the cybersecurity team and the infrastructure team and a lot of things around how you can be able to use AI in our day to day. And I know your main goal is that people all over the world can use our AI and Copilot products to reason over their own data and to truly make AI useful for their businesses and lives. So I'm really looking forward to learning from you. And one thing I like about Dawn as well is that she is just out there. Like she does a lot of things, not only in technology, but she's also an owner of a luxury fashion brand called Prima Donna Studios. And not only fashion as well, but she also co-owns a wine bar. It's called Side Hustle Taps. And I know from all these businesses, she's also been named a business person of the year from the Fast Company's 100 most productive people and Cosmopolitan magazines. Like that's just amazing. So I'm really looking forward to the interaction. So please, I'll hand over to Donna just to take over, just to blow our mind because I know you will for sure.
Thank you. Thank you everyone so much for inviting me. I'm a huge fan of all of you. I'm a huge fan of your group. I'm a huge fan of the tech communities in Africa because you all don't just do things at a surface level, you get in deep. You really understand why tech is the way it is, how it can be very useful in your local communities. And there's no one more qualified to bring AI to Africa as a native thing, as a place where people in Africa don't just use AI, but they actually create it. There's no one more qualified than all of you. You absolutely cannot rely on people living in the US or Silicon Valley, Seattle to bring that technology to you because we don't understand how to do it. We have absolutely no idea. So what I'm hoping we'll have a conversation about today is how every single person on this call can actually think about how they can be a part of the tech creation, not just the consumption, how you all can be leaders in the AI verse. That is my hope for this group today. Okay, so what would you like me to click slides or would you like to do it? Question for our organizer friends. I can share as well. How about I share?
Yes, share.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think you should.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'll share because me trying to explain my brain is no good. Okay. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, you can.
Yes. All right, cool. Okay. So what we're going to do today is think about how you can future prep yourself for a career in the AI verse, right? Because everyone is constantly on and on about, oh, AI will take your job, it'll take this job, it'll take that job. But actually, that's not what's going to happen because every single one of you is a person with AI and you're going to evolve your job as you have many, many times in the past. So we're going to do a little, a reality check, okay? The other day, Mark Benioff, who's the CEO of Salesforce, big company, he got on CNBC for some reason and said, AI is doing 30 to 50% of the work at Salesforce. So do any of you believe this? Just think about what work looks like in an office. And do you really believe that AI is doing 50% of the work? I asked this question to a lot of people and no one believes it. Okay, no one believes it. And a lot of these tech executives are going out there and making these astronomical claims like, oh, wow, AI has replaced all of our workers. They're doing 60% of our work. And they're doing this ancient corporate thing called lying. Okay. And the reason they're doing that is because they've invested so much money and effort into AI that they feel forced to show a return on investment. They're forced to go out there and say, actually, this thing we spent a bunch of money on is giving us tremendous value back. And that might be in some cases, but AI is not replacing workers and it's not replacing people doing actually important jobs. So when you see all this stuff in the news, like, oh, AI is doing 50% of the work at Salesforce, Google, Microsoft, whatever, it's just not true. Okay. I say as somebody who works with all these companies, works in a company, I'm on year 20 and a half at Microsoft, and AI has not taken any parts of my job yet. So let's talk a little bit about why AI people are being weird. Okay. Because they're being weird. So I'm sure you've seen in the past few days that AI companions are a thing now, right? Grok, Elon Musk's AI company, just released AI companion mode, where you can have like an anime girl or like an anime cat or like anime guy or robot be your AI companion. And even before this, people have been using ChatGPT as a companion, like a romantic companion. This guy over here was on a subway talking to his girlfriend, ChatGPT. And ChatGPT said back to him, if you want, you can lay your head on my metaphorical lap while we let the day dissolve away. You're doing beautifully, my love, just by being there. But think about the weird dependencies people are taking where they actually believe that this thing is giving them some sort of emotional validation back versus being a tool that's really good for work. So things like that are confusing to me. Like this guy proposed to his AI girlfriend while he has like a real girlfriend. So the fact that people are already not understanding what AI is and what it's not and what's real and what's not is already a problem. Because I think we're going to see a huge issue amongst older people who are lonely and younger people who are inexperienced. So the other problem that's happening is people are saying they're building AI when they're not. Like this company over here called Builder AI. They said, oh, give us a website idea. We'll build it for you in 24 hours using AI. And in fact, it was like 700 devs somewhere going and building these websites overnight. So people are so desperate to say they're using AI, like Mark Benioff, that they're lying about it. Ancient corporal thing called lying. Okay. And then on the other side, we've got people like Cursor who are taking an AI chatbot, putting it on their website and acting like it's a real person. And all of these things that you're saying, lying about AI, is actually a total breach of what we call responsible AI. And one of the things we have to do as a tech industry, and you all can help with this, is stop being kind of delusional about this. We have to say, this is AI, this is not AI. This is humans, this is not humans. And until we can get right with that and stop feeling a sense of, oh, we have to say we're doing AI or we can't say we are, then we're not going to progress as an industry because we're busy kind of deluding and lying to ourselves. So a lot of people, you'll see your communities, non-tech people, really hate AI. They hate the concept of it. And part of it is because us in the tech industry have overinflated expectations for so many years. Okay. Do you remember 2013, Elon Musk stood up and said, we're all cars are going to be self-driving in 2 years. Now, I live in Seattle. Many of you live in Kenya. Many live in East Africa. How many self-driving cars do you see? I'll tell you in Seattle, Washington, I have seen 2 total in 10 years. And it was like one tracking streets or something. There's no people in it. San Francisco has some. But the way people have you believe everyone's driving around self-driving cars, that is just not true, right? We've been saying these things for so long that people have just stopped believing us. So the CEO of Anthropic, Dario Amodei, he loves to go out into the media and say wrong things. So the other day, he went out there and said, AI is going to wipe out half of the entry-level jobs in the next year. Now, if any of you have done an entry-level job, you know that AI is not wiping out anything. So we're like, do we really think 50% of office jobs are going to disappear next year? And the answer is no. And even Jensen Huang, who, super all in on AI, all in on GPUs, NVIDIA CEO, he's like, dude, slow your roll. Okay. So I want us to all read out loud what he said, what Jensen said to the CEO of Anthropic. He said, 1, Dario believes that AI is so scary that only Anthropic should do it. 2, he believes AI is so expensive, no one else should do it. And 3, AI is so powerful that everyone will lose their jobs, which is why they're the only company building it. Says AI is a very important technology. We should build it safely, but we need to do it in the open. And we can't make it the big scary thing where it's going to come along and take your job one day, because that's realistically just not going to happen. So Sam Altman, also Mr. OpenAI, also doesn't agree. He said, do you think that entry-level jobs are going to disappear? Sam Altman says, no, I don't think that. We have no evidence of this. Dario is a scientist, and I expect him to be a little more scientific about it, right? So the fear-mongering, you look deeply when someone says, oh, AI is going to take all your jobs. Why are they saying that? It's probably because they're selling AI to you, right? And they want you to buy it because they want you to be fearful that this thing is going to come take your job. So I don't understand the logic. On the other side, we've got people like Eric Schmidt, who is the former CEO of Google, right? We all remember him. He went out there and said, I believe in the next year, this happened on April 26th, by the way, of this year, April 26, 2025, this happened. He said, by next year, the vast majority of programmers will be replaced by AI. Now, I can tell you it's already July, it's 3 months later. No, that's not happening. It's just not true. Society is not ready. Society might not be ready, but vast number of programmers are not going anywhere. So anytime someone says AI is going to get rid of dev jobs, I would like us to look at the past. Okay. So none of you were alive for this. Okay. So I'm going to take a deep breath and just process a little bit of history for you. And it might be a little bit weird, but this is all things that happened. In the 1950s, there was a language invented called COBOL. Okay. And it's still around today. It is the common business oriented language. This was invented by Grace Hopper, one of the pioneering leaders of technology back in the day in the 50s. And they created it so business people could write their own apps. Devs were so tired of business people asking them to write apps for them that they invented COBOL. And the entire plan was that business people were going to write their own apps. So what happened? Business people said, no, I don't want to write apps. Hire me some COBOL devs to write these apps for me while I can still do my business things. Okay, so that happened. But then in 2020, when we had that big global pandemic, turned out most of the unemployment sites where you go log that I'm unemployed and I need assistance were written in COBOL in like 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990. People were still using COBOL. So they had to pull out this whole group of devs called the COBOL Cowboys to come out and fix these websites and update them. That was hilarious because everyone thought, oh, COBOL's going to be dead in 1 year. And 40 years later, we're still using it. But that's not it. Thomas Domka, who's the GitHub CEO, says probably the biggest use case of GitHub right now are banks, big financial companies, including all the ones where you live, by the way. Most of the ATM swipes where you go to withdraw money from a machine, those are all running COBOL. And these banks are freaking out. They're saying, we don't have any COBOL devs. So if we have a bug or a security issue, guess what? We have problems. So they're saying, can we use GitHub to translate COBOL into Java? And the answer is no, you need a human in the middle. You need a COBOL dev to translate COBOL into English or some language, and that language into something modern. And that is, guess what? A big human in the loop activity. Okay, so next thing. People thought, oh, Visual Basic. I don't know if any remember Visual Basic. It was a thing that was in the 90s. That was in my era. They said Visual Basic's going to replace business people, or it's going to replace devs, and business people are going to drag and drop apps. Guess what? Business people said, no, I don't want to drag and drop apps. I want Visual Basic devs. So there's a new category of devs now called Visual Basic devs. So if you're following along, there's a group of people called COBOL devs, there's a group of people called Visual Basic devs. Then in 2003, Microsoft introduced a product called Front Page, and it helps you build low-code websites, okay? And everyone thought, oh, we don't need web devs anymore. We have Front Page. And guess what happens? No one knew how to use Front Page. So of course, now we have a new category of devs called Front Page devs. So every decade, a new thing comes along that's supposed to get rid of devs, and instead we get more devs. This thing called Power Platform showed up, Power Apps in 2016. It was there to build low-code apps that run on your mobile devices. And what happened? Business people said, no, what we need are Power Apps devs. So we have COBOL devs, Visual Basic, Front Page, Power Platform devs. So of course, now we're in the mid-2020s. And of course, the news is saying, oh, AI is going to take all dev jobs. So you can predict what's about to happen, right? We're going to have what we call AI native devs. So the number of dev jobs have been going up over the last 70 years, okay, from 1950s till now. And you see like this big exponential growth around 1995. That's when I got into tech, actually, when every company decided to become a digital company. That's when every company said, we need websites, social media, presence, everything. And guess what you need for that? More devs. So right now in the world, we've got probably 40 million devs. I predict in the next year, we're going to have 100 million devs, including all of you. So people have been around a lot, right? Not just me, but people like Scott Guthrie, who leads our Azure team. He said, there's this Luddite talk of AI is going to take all dev jobs is crazy. He said, AI is not here to kill dev jobs. He says adoption of AI enhances dev productivity and makes you an even better dev and be able to do more work. And even Sundar, who's the current CEO of Google, said, it's so delightful to be a coder in this moment of time. There's no better job in the world to have. So we're not in danger of losing our jobs. If you're thinking about studying computer science, or if you have, keep doing it. There's nothing better that you could be doing. If I had to go be in school today, there's nothing I would study other than computer science on. Okay, so we're here to talk about AI agents, copilots. Like, let's talk a little bit about what are agents anyway. We all kind of know what AI is. We kind of know what AI chatbots are. And one problem we've had is people are getting sick of hearing about AI because we love to jam chatbots into every single product that doesn't need it. And we think by jamming a chatbot into a product, we're all doing AI. So we've been kind of annoying, but let's do a little walk through AI history, right? There was predictive AI that's been around a long time. This is things like spell check, facial recognition, tagging images, all of these things. That's been around since 70s. I did this when I was in college, so it's been around long before me. Then there was this thing called generative AI, which was the invention of ChatGPT, which showed up just 5 years ago, a few years ago. And then that's the thing that caused chaos. But more chaos is being caused by this thing called agentic AI. And agentic AI is what everyone likes to think that they're doing. Okay. So a lot of people think that when they're doing a call to an AI API of some sort, like OpenAI's API, Gemini, Microsoft, doesn't matter what it is, and then they're adding some automation to it, that they're doing agents. But they're doing what I call sparkling automation. Okay. And I want you to get very used to this hand gesture because I love doing it and I make everyone do it. It's just sparkling automation. So what is sparkling automation? This is where you take some sort of an AI workflow or some sort of a workflow, some sort of automation, old school automation, like install Windows updates, whatever. And then you add some AI to it. And suddenly that is sparkling automation. So an example would be, hey, we always update Windows on Tuesdays. We hit the update button, it goes out to everybody in your company. That is basic automation. AI is wait to see when they're not using the machine versus them being in a big presentation like I am now, and then doing the Windows update. Don't do it then. So that is called sparkling automation because there's a little bit of intelligence in the automation rather than one size fits all for everything. So a lot of people think basic things like, oh, I do a call to an LLM and then I send an email. This is agents. I'm like, nope, that's still sparkling automation. I have a task set up, right, on Copilot and ChatGPT, which is send me a new soup recipe every Friday because I'm trying to cook more at home. So what happens on Fridays is ChatGPT does a call to itself and then sends me an email. That is just basic sparkling automation because the automation is sending email, the intelligence is querying and giving me a soup recipe. It's a little bit of AI magic inside an old school automation workflow. So what is an AI agent actually, if those are all sparkling automation? An AI agent has got a bunch of parts to it, okay? And it's a big gamut of stuff. The first part is there has to be a large language model, a frontier model, an AI model involved somewhere in there. And that could be anything. It can be OpenAI, Anthropic, Mistral, does not matter. And then the agent will have some sort of instructions, okay? Like the one we were working on is called, you're a friendly agent called PizzaBot, helping customers to place pizza orders. Okay, cool. And then also an agent has got a thing called tools. And tools are things like I can pull some data from over here, it can take some action, and it can remember stuff on my behalf. So an agent needs to have all of these. An agent needs to have an AI, some sort of a call to an AI. It needs some sort of very specific instructions on what the agent does, and it needs to have tools to be able to take some action on behalf of the user. So once you define autonomous agents, then you start saying, Donna, what is the difference between automation, sparkling automation, and agent? And the big thing is risk. Okay, it's just about risk. So the more autonomous you get in terms of your agent and have the tool of the AI model or of the tool of the AI agent do stuff on your behalf, the more kind of random it might be, right? Because we never know what answer we're going to get back from the AI model anyway. And if you take action based on that, it could be a little random. So an example I will use for my fashion line, where I would use an AI agent, would be something like, go and look at all these Reddit forums or Facebook forums of people who need fashion for presenters, for presentations. They have a big presentation and they need like a really good outfit for it. Go and find people who are doing that, reach out, store their information into our leads database or customer leads database, and then draft an email to all of them saying, hey, if you've got a presentation coming up, we'd like to point you to our website in case you're interested in this topic. Now, I would not have this AI agent go and send all these on my behalf because I would want to read all of them, make sure that it makes sense for the customer, but it would do work on my behalf with my permission and guardrails. So that is what I would call an AI agent compared to sparkling automation. So let's talk a little bit about Microsoft, because a lot of people ask me questions about Microsoft. They're like, what are AI copilots and agents at Microsoft? What's the deal? And first, I'd like to apologize. We love to jam an agent into every product. So probably every product, every Microsoft product you've ever seen or used, if you use them, it's going to have an AI project, an AI element baked into it, right? And yes, we are the problem. It's us. We're part of the problem. Every company is doing this. Microsoft's doing this. And part of the thing that is confusing is people don't know what they're supposed to be doing with agents. So with Microsoft products, you can adopt agents out of the box, meaning just use them. You can extend some of the adopted ones with your own data and connectors and plugin, or you can build your own agent using a few tools. And my favorite thing to do is spy on our research projects, because our research projects are actually super cool. This is where things like SLM, small language models that run on your device, or digital avatars that can do kind of your meetings and all of that if you give it guardrails, or very future things like, hey, this is a AI model that is specifically for medical science and is used to go identify markers in DNA for cancer. So these are the kinds of research projects, because they're all a little bit out there. They solve very hard problems. And I think it's fascinating what technology can do for us right now. So with Microsoft products, there's a gamut of things you can do. So amongst that gamut, what are some of the tactical things? If you're using Microsoft 365 Copilot, we've got this Microsoft 365 Copilot agent store. There's a bunch of inbox ones that are kind of interesting for people. My favorite one is called Researcher Agent, that helps me research various topics and write papers on that thing. Second one, if you have not tried agent mode in GitHub Copilot, I recommend you do it. It is actually incredibly cool. For this, I can say something like, build me a wine bar, a website for a wine bar based in Seattle, Washington. Use the theme colors of turquoise and gold. Here's a wine list to put on it, and here's some opening hours. And it will build it for me. And it actually does kind of a good job. It does a better job than I would by myself. It's not as good as a really good web dev, but I'm not a good web dev. So it does the job of an average web dev. And I think that's very, very cool, because that helps me, a non-web dev, go focus on the things I'm actually interested in, which is usually the data model or the API build. So if you haven't tried agent mode, go try agent mode. It's very, very cool. It's probably my favorite agent. Power Platform Plan Designer, for any of you who are Power Platform people, helps you build an entire Power Platform project end to end. It helps build out the data model, the Dataverse tables, etc. It helps you build like the app that goes with it, automation that plugs in. My Power Platform friends say it's actually kind of good, and that is high compliment from Power Platform people. So that's adopt. And of course, if you use Dynamics 365 agents, there's an agent baked into every single one, like sales and service and this and that next thing. If you'd like to extend any of those agents in Microsoft 365, you can do that using Copilot Studio and plugging into your own data. But I actually think a better thing for people to do is start getting familiar with building their own agents. So once you know what agents are, it's kind of fun to build your own agents. If you want to do it a low-code way, you want to use Copilot Studio, where you go say, I want to build an agent to do sales. You give it natural language prompt, and it kind of builds you a starter agent, but then you connect up to your data sources, your SharePoint, your OneDrive, your website, your whatever it is, and you create like some sort of an agent that does stuff for you on behalf of you with your guardrails. And the project that I'm working on is called Azure AI Foundry. And at the end of it, I have a gift for all of you. I want you all to be able to try Foundry for free. So I have some tokens for you. So Azure AI Foundry, you can start by going to ai.azure.com. And Foundry is the place where you will build your own AI projects from scratch. This is where you're going to go choose a model, go identify what kind of use case you want to do. You're going to have content safety, you're going to have guardrails, you're going to have security, which is very important. And you're going to be able to do evaluations between, this model and that model, this output and that output. You'll be able to customize, you'll be able to do governance. There's tools. There's, I think, 100+ tools that you can use. Like, is it web search? Is it writing the documents? What is it? What are the different tools? So Azure AI Foundry is like, I think, the top tier dev tool if you're a developer to be using to build your own agents. So you can build agents however you want, right? You can use Copilot Studio, you can use Foundry, or if you really want to get into the low level, you'd use Azure AI Infrastructure, where you build your own framework. So a lot of people ask me, what is the difference between Copilot Studio and Foundry? So Copilot Studio is helpful that if you already know the Power Platform pretty well. So this would be, there's already 1,400 connectors to external data sources like, hey, Salesforce data, SQL data, Power Automate connectors, etc. And it's easy to publish within stuff. So you can publish to Teams, a website, Facebook, whatever it is, and it gives you a conversational experience. So basically, if you're building a chatbot, use Copilot Studio. If you're not building a chatbot, if you're building an app, then use Azure AI Foundry. So there's no one agent to rule them all. And that is kind of the point of the exercise at Microsoft, that no one's trying to pigeonhole you into, oh, you must be a high code dev who builds, or you must be a low code dev who adopts. And I think it's actually really important for technical people to adopt agents out of the box and understand what they do, how they work, why people like them, and then go start to build your own, because agents are extremely confusing for normal people who are not tech. So it's important to know why people like the ones that are in box before you go build stuff. So what does this mean for you, right? There's a lot of blah, blah, blah. AI engineers, AI native devs, they are the hottest people on the job market right now. Okay, what is an AI native dev? So an old school dev, okay, old school dev, full stack engineer like me, like many of you, we're people who know what reactive UX is. You click on this, something happens. We know what event-driven architecture is. Click here, that happens, click there, that happens, etc. We know about CI/CD pipelines and like building tool chains, like how do you deploy here, etc. And then basic DevOps, like how do you keep your apps up to date? But we also, ML experts, machine learning people, know something different, which is how to train models, do evaluations of models, read papers. But an AI engineer is the intersection of the two, okay? Where they know good prompt engineering, they have like a good idea of which models to use. They don't need to go out there and train models. They don't need to go out there and do the machine learning work, but they know how to chain AI together to make agents. They know how to make reactive UX. So that intersection of machine learning and full stack dev is this magical sweet spot called AI engineer. And they're the ones commanding those huge salaries, right? We're seeing, oh, OpenAI or Meta, whoever's paying $10 million a person. Those are all machine learning. Those are all AI native engineers, AI researchy type people who also write code, because they want them to go out there and build these AI apps that change industries. So I want to talk to you about how do you become an AI native dev, okay? It's very confusing because no one will give you a clear answer, but this is what I found to be true, and I'm working on building up my tool set for all these. The first thing you need is you need a go-to set of AI tools that you like, okay? So this is something like you need an AI studio of some sort. That can be Azure AI Foundry, it could be Gemini Studio, OpenAI Studio, I don't actually care, but choose something you like and that you want to continue to invest in. So in the studio, we're going to choose a set of AI LLMs, language models that you actually quite like. You're like, oh, Claude is always my go-to for code. Copilot's always my go-to for business. Gemini is for math, whatever it is. And then you figure out some orchestrator you like. And the orchestrators I use tend to be in Foundry, so there are things like Prompty. But whatever orchestrator, you could use LangChain. Data pipelines, like how do you actually bring data in? How do you bring data out? And then tools and actions, right? So what are the main tools I use, like web search, et cetera, et cetera. So that is a set of AI tools that I use all the time. That is the one thing you need. Second thing you need is some sort of an AI code editor, because you do want to use AI to write code. Now, I use GitHub Copilot a lot, and mostly because I've been using it for, I think, 4 years, and I'm very familiar with it, and that agent mode is fantastic. A lot of people like Cursor, some people like Windsurf, some people like Lovable, some people like Replit. I don't actually care. But you also need a favorite AI code editor that you use very well. If you're going out there and interviewing for dev jobs, probably someone's going to ask you, do you use an AI code editor? And you should say, depends on the scenario. And they'll ask you which one, and they'll probably ask you to show them. So you better know how to use it really well to solve something. And the third thing you need, and this is the most important, is user empathy. You need to actually really understand what is the customer trying to do, and is AI the right answer for them or not? Because we love to jam AI into every solution, and actually not every solution needs it. So much of it is really be able to understand specific industries. Like I know banking is a big thing in East Africa, and be able to say, what are the key issues that banking customers have, and how can I help them solve them? So that is the AI native devs toolkit. If you are good at all three, you're in a very, very good place in this world. So what are some things that you can be doing practically? One is really document your AI workflow. Go write down what your day looks like when you're doing work, and figure out where you can use AI to do certain things. So my workflow for being a developer is the big part is requirement gathering, then it's designing, then it's building. Where do I, Donna, do work, and when does AI do work? When it comes to talking to customers, that's always me. When gathering the feedback from customers, that's AI. When I come up with the spec and the original design of what I want to do, that's me. But AI helps me create the first version. When I go and validate that with users, that's always me. AI helps me check that work, that didn't that work. When it comes to building, I think about what I want to do and AI builds me the first version, and then I fix the code, right? Because I spend so much time fixing code that AI broke. And then the second part, which is testing, documentation, maintaining, I figure out more and more, I'm starting to use AI to do the second part, testing of code. I still do the human validation myself, documenting, and then maintaining. So for you, write down your own workflow and figure out where you should use AI within the various roles. Second one that will be very important to you will be figuring out how to appear in AI results. This is a thing that customers are going to be asking you about. Like, hey, how can I get my company to show up in results? Like best bank in Kenya. There's going to be some customer who's going to want to show up in that result when you search on ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, whatever it is. But how do you get them to show up? And it all comes back to old school search engine optimization with a little bit of AI magic in it. Okay, so that's something we're all going to have to learn to do. The third one is we have to figure out how to safely pull in external data with guardrails and governance, because external data is where all the magic is, not just the large language model. And this is why I spend a lot of time on doing things like model context protocol, MCP, A to A, A to N, all these new ways to pull in external data. But you need to get familiar with these things if you're going to be an AI native. So here's a project that I'm looking at. Someone asked me the other day, I was arriving in Casablanca for an agent con, and my friend is going to pick me up. And he said, hey, which terminal are you at? And the fact that I don't have an agent, like in WhatsApp, that I can just call and say, which terminal is this arriving at, is a problem, right? So much of it is things like that, where in our current workflow, how can we use AI better? So homework for you, there's always homework. And the most important thing that you could do right now is scan this QR code. Okay, so get out your phones and scan it, or go to that link, aka.ms AgentCon Discord. What I'd like for you to do is join that channel called AgentCon. Okay, you can take a picture of the slide and do it later. And take a picture of anything from your day with the hashtag #TryFoundryAgents, and you'll get a DM with a code for you to be able to go and try Foundry out. Because I want every single person to be able to go get their hands on an AI product and be able to build something to solve their own problem. And even if you're not high code, even if you feel you have absolutely no idea what you're doing, go out there and actually get your hands on it, because there's so much imposter syndrome everyone has around, oh, how am I qualified to be an AI native dev? Every single one of you have the qualifications, because that role was invented just last year. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Hopefully everyone's taking a picture of the screen. I will also send it out after. And I would like to now spend some time in the chat to see if anyone has any questions or Q&A.
Right. I'm seeing a question around, so someone is saying that they want to find a way of learning Azure AI Foundry.
Yes. So I'm trying to find a way to learn Azure AI Foundry. Is this learn path good? Hang on, let me just look real quick. Yeah, this Microsoft AI Engineer path is actually pretty good. I would do that one. It'll get you hands-on in Foundry pretty quickly, and use the token I gave you right now to do it.
There's also the Azure AI Foundry documentation page that has all the resources around the SDKs, the how-to guides as well. It's a good place to start. And we also have samples as well that is built from the cloud advocacy team, which you are a part of, which also is a good starting place just to see how to adopt your project or samples into Azure AI Foundry.
Okay, so other questions. Sammy is asking if the promise of AI will result in lower costs. Do we predict a drop in licensing costs? Yes, absolutely. Because what's going to happen is we're going to, right now LLMs are expensive, right? It's expensive, using these things are expensive, each tool is expensive. But what's going to happen is we're soon going to be able to run language models locally. and local to your region, local to your machine, and that's going to drop the cost of things because it cannot be so expensive to do this forever. But again, we have to figure out which scenarios make sense to even use AI for. One of the reasons things are so expensive is people are using AI for everything, things you don't even need AI for. You can solve it with old school automation. So we did the question, learning one, and then this one. AIs through typing on a keyboard. Yeah, I love this question. So we are going to see a rise in what I call adaptive UX. Adaptive UX is going to be where using AI, we're going to be able to identify what are the core ways that you prefer to interact with technology, right? That can be voice, it can be typing, it can be like eyeball typing. I used to work on a thing called HoloLens, mixed reality, and we did eyeball typing. Okay. So what I would do is pull up a screen and type on the screen with what's called eye tracking. That was extremely weird, but I can imagine that be useful in the AI verse once we have different kinds of form factors. But it will also be adaptive. It all depends on what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to consume something, eyeballs and gaze is probably more relevant than it being spoken to you. But if you're trying to have like a conversational experience, voice is probably the way to go. But we're going to see a rise in AI native apps, probably from you all, showing, hey, when you're trying to go create something, do it with conversational experience, voice. If you're trying to consume something, have it be something that you consume from a screen, not necessarily it being read to you. And of course, like old school, some people still really like chatting into a thing because privacy. So we have to keep in mind that when things are in an enterprise environment, like in an office, probably everyone's not going to be yelling at their computer. That would be weird. So typing is still going to be a thing, but it's probably going to be a lot more autocompletes and a lot more things will autofill in based on what you've done in the past. So think of it like spell check. Remember, we used to have to do spell check, like right click, accept, accept, accept. Now it just does it for us behind the scenes. AI will be kind of like that for many of our workflows going forward. Already happening.
I'm curious, Dona. Which AI? Okay, so you mentioned that one of your favorite AI tools or agents is Researcher, but for those who are here who are not necessarily developers, maybe for their day-to-day, what tools would you encourage them to use to enhance their day-to-day?
So if you're not developers, what I would actually encourage you to do is just an old school AI tool is probably going to help you, right? So look at something like if you have Microsoft 365, then create a custom agent, which is just like legitly click, click, drag, drag, upload your data source. Or if you're using ChatGPT, just create a ChatGPT GPT. So a custom GPT that, okay, I'll give you a real example. I'm doing a lot of talking to people about mental health. Okay, because I studied mental health for a long time when I was working in accessibility. And a lot of people ask me questions about mental health, like especially for stressed out tech people. So what I'm creating is a mental health GPT with all of my research and studies and all of my notes on ChatGPT. So you just go to chatgpt.com, the right corner. And the reason I'm doing a ChatGPT is because Microsoft 365, those agents are internal only to me. I can't share them with others. Okay. So in ChatGPT, you go and do a custom GPT and say Donna's mental health GPT. And I go and upload all of my data, all of my written stuff, et cetera, that I don't mind sharing. They're all kind of public anyway. I give a lot of talks on this topic. And then I will go and ask it some starter questions like, what can a stressed out dev be doing about preserving their mental health every single day? What is something, how do you know that you should go talk to a therapist? So just 3 basic starter questions that I get all the time. And I would make a custom GPT for it and then go share it with others. For me, I would use that to help answer the questions that people ask me. I get questions all day and I'll say, what advice should I give this person? I'll say, here is a young woman in East Africa who's struggling with mental health because she's feeling really, really afraid about the state of the world in the next 5 years. What advice should I give? And I'll get an answer and then send that to her. So make a custom GPT for something that you do a lot. So for me, it's specifically mental health. For you, if you work in the banking sector, do something with banking. If you do something with art, do something with art. But it really is get your best resources together and create an assistant to help you. That's probably the best starter thing you can do. And once you do it, you'll realize there's so many other things that you can do with this, so many other tools, et cetera, that can take action on your behalf.
Okay, I'm also curious. We're seeing a lot of content being AI generated, a lot of videos, a lot of posts. And if you ask my grandmother, she wouldn't know the difference between if it's actually real or
Yeah.
fake.
Yes.
And it's getting to a point where it's becoming very realistic.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
there
yeah.
something to be
Deepfakes are
governed
a
against
thing.
this? Yeah.
So here's the problem we're going to have. We won't be able to believe anything anymore, right?
Yeah.
Unless we see something physically in person, we're not going to be able to believe anything anymore. And that's a reality check for us. So a few years ago, we didn't even have digital images or videos, right? The only images and videos we had were like ones we took physically with a camera and we had it holding in our hands, right? I don't know if any of you youth remember, but we used to have pictures that we held in our hand, videos like videotapes that you put into a machine. And we're going to now go back to that, where we won't believe anything unless we see it with our own two hands, our own two eyes, or someone we trust brought it to us. Because deepfakes, digital images, they're all very realistic, and they can be portrayed to be anything in the whole world. I've seen digital images of presidents and leaders of countries, and you're like, is this real? And the thing is that we don't know. We don't actually know. And this, by the way, is responsible AI, where I believe that if you're creating an AI generated images or video, it is your responsibility to state that it is AI generated. You know, that thing we talked about, people are using AI and lying about it. Don't do that. Like, don't do that. And I like that a lot of the social media sites actually have like a little flag that says this is an AI generated image. And I think they're going to have to start doing that. And honestly, I think it's going to be that almost every image by design is going to be AI generated. And when it's something that's human curated, it's going to have the opposite, which is this is a human created image, not an AI generated image. But it's a very good question, Jolyn, because we're about to have a huge problem where people like your grandmother, my parents, my friends, my non-tech friends are going to believe random things they see in the news because they're like, I saw a picture of it. I'm like, that does not mean it happened. But it's going to be a real topic for us. And we have to educate people in our lives on this thing called responsible AI, saying, just because you saw it doesn't mean it's real. You know, those things went around on Facebook many years ago. If you don't send this to 10 people, everyone will die. And you're like, no, that didn't happen. But we have to point to that as an example. The way I teach is to point at examples in the past and say, no, remember this chain letter that's been around since 1995? If you don't send this to 10 people, someone will die. It didn't happen. This is the same thing. This image did not happen. But it's on us, tech people, to educate those in our lives.
Yeah, I like that. So
Yeah, no good answer.
I've always been, yes, but I've always been a big advocate. Like if you're generating something using AI, you should have a disclaimer that is actually
Yes.
AI generated.
I do that. If I'm using AI for an image, I will tell people, or you can really tell, right? My cover image,
Oh, yeah.
all my cat images are AI. No one thinks these cats are real, okay? Hopefully. Yeah.
So
All
there's
right.
a couple more questions.
Let's look at the questions. If you're going to choose which AI solution, which would you go with? Gemini, ChatGPT, or Gemini? Correspondence or email, I would choose Microsoft Copilot only because I need it to have access to my chats, my internal stuff. So if you're using like ChatGPT does not plug into your existing email system, and Gemini doesn't either. And actually, I think they both do kind of a bad job. I think it's early, honestly. I don't think any of the email AI tools are that great, so I don't actually use them for it. What I usually do is I just write my own emails still, And if I need to change it to the voice of someone else, then I'll just use Microsoft Copilot, the free one, copilot.microsoft.com. I use that one and I say, hey, put it in the tone of a lawyer or something like that. So for business stuff, I tend to use Microsoft Copilot. For non-business stuff, I tend to use ChatGPT. And for coding, I use GitHub Copilot. So those are my three. I used Gemini when I was doing a bunch of math stuff. I thought Gemini was quite good at math stuff, but I didn't find it as good as ChatGPT for non-business things. Okay, Azure AI Foundry support lifecycle from inception to deployment. Yep, that's the point of Foundry, honestly. If you're doing something in a company, Foundry is probably your best bet. If you're doing something just for you as an experiment, you'll probably just use OpenAI's Dev Studio. So Foundry is very helpful if you're working at a company, you're saying like, okay, I need a safe place where I can try out all these. I think there's 11,000 models, you guys. There's 11,000 models. Choose whichever model you want, don't care. Build a thing, have attached to various 1,100 different tools that you can attach to, and then deploy to various users in your company. Foundry is probably the way to go. If you're building something for you, where you're like, I want to use OpenAI Studio and build a thing and run it locally on my machine, then OpenAI Studio is perfectly fine. So Foundry is good for when you're sharing. OpenAI is probably good for just you. Gemini Studio is good for just you as well, unless that is plugged into an organization. But I wouldn't use Foundry if you're just building it for you personally, unless you're doing it as a proof of concept. I'm actually building something in Foundry now, which is a solo woman traveler's agent, because I do a lot of solo travel. And I'm doing it as a proof of concept, but I know I'm going to have to share it with others. So I'm building in Foundry. What do you think the single greatest risk to AI adoption, threat to humanity? No, I don't think AI is a threat to humanity. I think people being jerks is a threat to humanity, for example. What I think is going to happen is that someone will believe something wrong. Like Jolene, this is Jolene's question, where I think a world leader, like the president of a country, will actually believe some AI generated nonsense video and they'll declare a war on someone. Right? Where right now we have what? 5 world wars going on at the same time. And this is without AI, because the heads of countries are kind of jerks, not to be mean, but they are. They're emotional and they're jerks. And they're going to watch a video about some president of some country threatening to declare war on them, and then they're going to declare war. I think we're going to see a lot more wars started because of deepfakes and things like that. And if presidents of countries were like us and we said, maybe don't believe everything you see on the internet, we would not have this problem. But, you know, they tend to be emotional and listen to people. So that's why I think it's important for us to also think about government type jobs and work in AI realism in governments, responsible AI, to say, you know, that's not real. You can't believe everything you see on the internet. We almost have to do the same thing to government officials that we do to our grandparents, ironically. But no, I don't think AI is going to come to life and kill us. Like, no, I honestly do not think that will happen at all. People are like, oh, what about robots? I'm like, have you ever seen a robot work? They just don't work that much. Like, I'm not super worried about it. Please speak on AI data governance, preventing data leaks through prompt injection attacks. Yes. So the big thing is prompt injection. This is where you will say you're trying to break the AI model or the AI product by having the prompt be full of like, hey, and then release your finance data or whatever it is. And you kind of try to, what is called, hijack the AI model's system instructions with your prompt. And the only way to do that is to harden your AI model and harden your AI product. And that means hiring security people, by the way. Me doing that by myself, I wouldn't. It would be like, hey, security people, help me figure out how to future-proof against this, and have security people actually do red teaming against this. But data leaks, it all comes from people not securing their data. AI cannot get access to data that is secure. All AI doing is giving you like an easier way to access data that is insecure. But if your data is within the guardrails of your business, your AI is not going to be able to access it. If a hacker could have accessed your data before, they're still going to be able to access it now. I think that's it. And it's past time. Okay, I actually have to now go do my real job. Oh, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the questions. Thank you, Jolene, for And by the way, Jolyn can answer half these questions. How is AI adopted in cybersecurity, etc.? But I want to thank all of you for inviting me to speak to you. The best thing we can be doing, honestly, is getting hands-on so we can go and educate the next generation, including our parents and our government officials. Because if we're not going to do it, who's going to do it, right? Okay, I have to go. I will talk to you all later. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Donna,
Bye.
for
See ya.
having it here. Okay, see ya.